In September 2007, I awoke groggy in Bethesda Naval Hospital, with tubes running from every opening in my body, the heart monitor beeping. The previous week had been a total blur, with vast periods of time completely lost. I remembered waking up in the combat support hospital in Baghdad, where I'd been medevaced after my team was caught in an ambush. I remembered waking up in Balad, Iraq, where they take soldiers with combat head wounds for treatment. Time vanished. And then I woke up in Landstuhl, Germany for more emergency surgeries and blood transfusions. I remember the chaotic flight home where multiple times I thought I was going to suffocate due to excessive congestion in my tracheotomy. And I remember the surreal feeling of being back on American soil, riding in the blue bus to Bethesda Naval Hospital. Now, I was lying in my hospital bed, weak and barely able to move, as a young, energetic doctor talked me through the path ahead. Despite everything, I was determined to get out of the hospital as fast as possible. But I couldn't say that to the doctor due to my extensive facial wounds and the tracheotomy. I couldn't move my left arm after it was nearly sheared off by enemy gunfire. The only way I could communicate was through writing. "Doc, how many months will it take to put me back together?" I wrote on the pad on my lap, "so I can get back to the fight and my teammates." Her face registered disbelief. She shook her head. "Months," she said. "Lieutenant, we're talking years to put you back together." I sank back in my bed. Years. When I had been selected for the Seaman to Admiral program and spent 3 years at Old Dominion University to get my degree, I'd missed years of experience with my teammates. I wasn't going to miss years alongside them again if I had anything to do with it. I'd have moments of disbelief, grief, fear, and pain as I lay there in the hospital taking one day at a time. But thinking about my teammates fighting in Iraq without me had kept me determined to get back to combat as soon as possible. I knew I could defy the odds like I had so many times before. A few days later, 2 visitors came in and began to talk about what bad shape I was in. "What a shame," they said, as I drifted in and out of sleep. "What a shame we send these young men and women off to war and they come home broken. They will never be the same. Most will struggle to make it back into society. Most will never be whole. What a waste." I couldn't talk, and although I still had some ringing in my ears from the bullet that had torn half my face off, I could hear just fine. As I listened to them talk about me, I felt something stirring in my gut. For my entire life, I'd beaten the odds. I made it into the SEALs, the most elite fighting force in the world, despite being a small, skinny high schooler with discipline problems and unimpressive grades. After almost being washed out of the Navy because of a leadership failure early in my career as an officer, I'd fought my way back to being a respected officer and leader and was ready to assume the first major level of SEAL command, platoon commander. I was at the height of my career. But all of that was before I had run into the devastating ambush that had wounded me and 2 of my teammates and left my blood and pieces of my body on the battlefield in Iraq. Were these people, these supposed friends, right? Was this how things were going to be now? Was this how people were going to see me? A cripple? A disfigured man forever ruined by a war that had claimed so many? A powerless victim? Was I going to be looked down on for the rest of my life as an object of pity? These questions rattled through my mind, and I broke into a cold sweat as I replayed the events of the night only a week before when everything changed. That night, my U.S. Navy SEAL Task Unit had received last-minute intel on the location of a time-sensitive target in the Al-Karma area of Al-Anbar province in Iraq. A senior-level al-Qaeda commander had been reported in a compound in our area of responsibility. He was a dangerous individual we had been tracking all deployment. Once our mission was cleared, I began preparing, triple-checking my gear, running over the battle plan in my head until I knew it inside and out. Then, my team and I boarded the Black Hawk helicopters that would drop us into battle. When my team landed, we easily took over the compound, encountering no resistance. In the main building, we uncovered a weapons cache and jihadist propaganda, but either the intel was incorrect or something had alerted the enemy that we were coming, because our target was nowhere to be found. Our snipers on the rooftop suddenly began notifying us of activity nearby. "Red, There's movement outside. We soon discovered that our enemy was in a house roughly 150 yards from the one we had cleared. We pushed an Air Force AC-130 gunship overhead. The gunship reported that men were in motion from the other house, so I took my assault team and patrolled in their direction. As we approached their position, my team got separated because of a radio frequency miscommunication. We quickly maneuvered through a dense thicket to combine our forces, but as we struggled through the Iraqi chaparral, my team and I were caught in a deadly, well-executed ambush with the al-Qaeda commander's hand-picked personal security detail. In the ensuing 35-minute firefight, 3 of us were severely wounded. I was shot the first time when a hidden machine gun nest just 10 yards from my position opened fire. I was hit immediately, bullets stitching across my midsection. Most embedded themselves in my body armor, but 2 rounds struck my left arm, nearly shearing it in half. In the confusion of the fight, I thought my arm had been severed from my body. Bullets continued to ricochet off my gun, my night vision goggles, and my helmet as I struggled to understand the ambush and lead us out of it. There were 2 enemy machine guns firing from only 50 feet away, as well as a dozen enemy AK-47 shooters. I was stranded in a devastating crossfire of thousands of rounds the size of my thumb. Fear and terror attempted to grip my mind, but I pushed them away. I knew I had to get cover or I was going to die right there on that spot. I looked behind me and saw nothing but thousands of yards of empty Iraqi desert. Then I saw muzzle flashes from my teammates shooting past me at the enemy. There was a large John Deere-style tractor tire my teammates had jumped behind to make their last stand against an overwhelming enemy force. Cover. Something that would stop bullets and give us a position to fight back from. Despite my injuries and pain, hope welled in my soul. I had to get to that tire. I rose to run to the only cover available, but as I leapt forward, a bullet struck in front of my right ear and traveled through my face, blasting off my nose, blowing out my cheekbone, vaporizing my right orbital floor, and shattering all the bones above my eye. The guys at the tire saw my head whipsaw forward and watched me collapse and crash into the ground 10 yards in front of them. I blacked out as my blood soaked into the foreign soil. When I came to, I was caught in the open, on the X, the kill zone, the point of attack, while the firefight continued to rage over me. I was bleeding out, caught between my team and 2 machine guns that had nearly killed me. Anger that I had allowed us to get into this situation slowly gave way to the realization that I was going to die.